Knowing yourself on a deeper level allows you to break the cycle of burnout for good. If you want to stop feeling stuck, overwhelmed, and hopeless, I'm going to give you 5 areas to focus on to move from burnout to peace. My name is Becky Wolf, and I'm the host of the Leadership Pulse podcast. The mission of this podcast is to provide hope and inspiration for healthcare leaders. The episodes are designed with a bit of support and challenge to rethink what healthcare could look like for you. Knowing yourself on a deeper level allows you to have a grounded foundation to walk on no matter what is going on in your life. It sets you up for authenticity, greater joy, and incredible meaning in your life. You no longer feel stuck. You no longer feel lost. You no longer feel hopeless. But here's the thing, and I want to press into this because I think we live in a society where we want the quick fix for everything, and doing this work takes time. It takes time, and it is a process to know yourself. We never graduate from the school of self-awareness. So when we feel like we have something nailed down, something else inevitably changes. But here's what I know and what I've seen shake out for clients. When you have your purpose nailed down, you have healthy rhythms set up with people and your personal health, you feel financially secure, and you're living out your values, you can have peace while making slower, methodic shifts to get to where you want to be. When you're feeling off, I want you to evaluate the following 5 areas. So this is going to be similar to the Peace Index episode a couple episodes back. I've added a few things in because when I'm working with clients who are experiencing burnout, there's a couple nuances to the Peace Index model that I use and a couple of additions to that framework that really have helped people break the burnout cycle and sustainably feel like they have a foundation for true authenticity. So first one I want to focus on is values. So do you know your own personal core values? From the work that I do, I can tell you most people don't. They don't have a clear understanding of what values really are. Values are deeply ingrained standards that we hold for ourselves. So organizations will commonly have values that are guideposts or boundaries for people to kind of invite them into the space and understand what they're all about, what they stand for. People, we have those too. So core values are really, really important. And if you don't know yours, but you feel like something is off, I would start there, honestly. So if you feel off in any way, it could be because you're not feeling aligned with your values, not feeling like you're living out your life in a way that's meaningful to you or invokes authenticity. So I'll give you an example of mine. So mine are faith, freedom, personal development for myself and others, and integrity. So those are my 4 values. And the way that I use values for myself is if I want to say yes to something, it has to check all 4 boxes. So I'm living out my values right now with the work that I get to do, but it wasn't always that way. And I couldn't figure out why I had felt off for so long. And the second one for me being freedom, I really needed to evaluate what that looked like for me. And after doing it, setting up my life in a way where I had optimal amounts of freedom. So now understanding what my values are, it's helped me live within those boundaries, but then also just understand that if I'm going to say yes to something and it's going to take away one of those, or it's going to intermingle with one of those, that's not what I would optimally want for my life, I get to say no. Second thing here, when we're talking about burnout, in order to break the cycle of burnout, is vision and purpose. So Peace Index, we talked about purpose, and I want to take it a step further talking about vision. So overall vision for your life. So do you know what that is? If you're a future-oriented thinker like I am, your overall life purpose and mission are big drivers for you. So often what I've found as the future-oriented thinkers, we have pretty deep sense of purpose. So if it doesn't feel like you're making progress here, or if it feels like it's fuzzy for some reason, fighting for that is what I would urge you to do, because I've worked with some clients recently talking about burnout, and if their 5-year vision feels fuzzy, it can feel like they're kind of treading water with no hope of making any traction. And that's a place that just feels unsustainable, and it is. So having some direction here of let's talk about like what you're really good at. What do you really enjoy? What are the things that you've seen to be patterns in your life that you feel successful in doing? That's what I lean into with vision and purpose for people that I work with, because it's integrally important, because I think as people now, we really want to align with an organization or align with the work that we're doing, because having a deeper sense of purpose just really foundationally helps us understand how we're making an impact in the world. So the next thing I would say with dealing with burnout is people rhythms. So how are the rhythms with the people that you love? Is there turmoil in any of the meaningful relationships? Are there hard conversations you need to have? If these feel out of balance in any way, it can throw people off, in particular, those of us who are feelers. So with using 5 voices language, so nurturers, connectors, and creatives, if we feel off with the people in our lives, it just causes discord. It causes us to feel like things aren't going well. And in order to have some sense of peace, have some sense of traction forward, if those are off, we need to figure out why. And I'm going to give you a deeper example of this. So if you're feeling stuck in relationships, it may be because this season of life you're in, maybe potentially with your kids or with a partner, or whatever that looks like, or potentially with the boss that you work with, the people that you work with in some way. Figuring out how to have some common ground will be incredibly important, because if you are missing a sense of peace here, it causes frustration. So doing what you need to do in those situations to help you feel like you're making progress forward. It doesn't mean it's always solved, but it can mean that you're making progress forward. So there can feel like there's pressure or disconnection within a relationship, or alternatively, there can be pressure to live up to someone else's expectations of what they want for your life. And I've seen this happen, and we get stuck into what other people want us to do versus what we want to do in our lives. So it's identifying that and identifying how to kind of unlayer those pressures that can be really helpful in this particular area and dealing with burnout. Next one is personal health. So how are your mental and physical rhythms? So emotional, mental, and physical rhythms. Do you feel like you are stable here? Do you feel like the habits are supporting who you want to be? Or do you feel like there's something that needs to change? What I often notice is that there are changes within work environments, home environments, and it throws us off. And it's not like we're meaning to get thrown off. It just can happen. So identifying that it has, and then identifying how to get back on track into goals that are sustainable for you and what you want to achieve in your overall health is another huge portion of burnout. So often what I find in clients is that they will let that go first. So we often say it's self-care in burnout, which I disagree with self-care being the defining factor of how to deal with burnout. So it's part of it, but it's not the whole picture. But this is the first thing to go. So help clients identify, what does self-care look like for them? What rhythm is sustainable in this season of life? And then trying to work towards a pattern of overall health in about 6 months, what they encapsulate or picture as optimal health for them. And then financial health. So if you don't feel peace in your finances, this can easily make you feel like you're on a hamster wheel and feeling like you'll never get ahead. This is a hard one. Most people don't like talking about money. It's a very sensitive topic. Taking a good look at finances and directing them, though, and having some type of security and peace makes a huge, huge difference, though, because then you feel like you can have flexibility to move wherever you want to move. And there's already that security there of knowing that financially you're okay. So this is one area where I will challenge people, especially if they're like, I want to make more money or I want to do something financially. It's like, okay, let's talk about this. Like, why is it important to you? Tell me the importance of it. What can we do to make shifts in this area right now? And I've read a number of financial books and watched some Netflix series on finances, and I love documentaries. So I'll go through some of these things. And what I've recognized is that sometimes we can be very accidental in our finances. We just spend money and we don't even know why we're spending it. But alternatively, if we're intentional to figure out what brings us joy and we spend money in doing that, no matter what our purpose is, it doesn't matter because we can identify where to spend money. I worked with a teacher not long ago, and he identified, he's like, I love what I do. I know the money that I make and I know how to spend it in a way that just brings me joy. He's like, so I don't really need to make more money. And I thought that was so valuable because he just understood to him what his purpose was. And he knows for him, purpose is high and provision isn't as high for him. He's like, I just want to make enough to do the things I love. I love being outdoors. And so he's focusing, redirecting his finances on things that actually bring him life and joy. So those are the 5 areas that I help clients work through if they're feeling burnt out. So I help them take steps forward with what they want. And knowing, I just went over these very, very quickly, but I want you again to understand that this is a process and it takes time to work through it. So what I want you to know also to be true in this is that inaction does not improve hopelessness. So if you're in this hopeless place, doing nothing will continue to help you feel hopeless, continues to drive that emotion of hopelessness. Lack of strategy for growth can precipitate overwhelm. What I mean by this is often people will start to read book after book to try to get some semblance of what will feel better to them. And what I've noticed is that it can just cause more overwhelm because you're getting stories from people that are helpful probably in the moment, but it doesn't give you direction in your own life. And it can continue to lead to overwhelm without an effective strategy. And then no accountability creates the continued feeling of being stuck. So if there's no deadline for change, what I've noticed is that people just continue to go through the cycle of feeling stuck, hopeless, just overwhelmed, leading to burnout. You are in charge of your overall well-being. The faster you commit to starting the process of healing from burnout, the faster you get your life back. So if you're ready to have direction and accountability towards self-growth that will change not only you, but those around you, message me and I will let you know if I can help you. Hey, I'm so glad that you're here. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave us a review on whatever platform you're listening. And again, if you're interested in any type of conversation around burnout, if you're experiencing burnout right now, message me because I would love to have the conversation to help you.